Today we are going to be looking at multiplying monomials notes. Alright, so key takeaways here. So examples with coefficients. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply the coefficients, and then we're going to simplify the variables. So again, multiply the coefficients, simplify the variables, and then we're going to be using that exponent rule, the product rule. Alright, so let's look at 29. Alright, so I want to multiply the coefficients. So first thing I'm going to do is multiply 4 and 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'm going to simplify the variables. So a to the 7th, a cubed with the product rule. So with the product rule, that means I add my exponents. So 7 plus 3. So then this becomes a to the 10th. So then your final answer would be 8a to the 10th power. All right, let's look at number 30. So again, multiply the coefficients. 5 times -3, -15. So even though there's no exponent here, technically that's m to the first power. So then m to the first times m to the second, adding my exponents would be m cubed. So to look at this more visually, if I break down my m's, here's m to the first power, and then m squared. So how many total m's will I be multiplying? 3. So then that becomes m cubed. All right, so 31. So I have a coefficient of 2, coefficient of -7, and a coefficient of 3. All right, so for simplicity reasons, -7 times 3 is -21. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2, which gives me a -42. All right, so my coefficient is -42. All right, so now I have w to the -1, w to the 4th, w to the 5th. All right, so easily, real quick here, 4 plus 5 minus 1. So 4 plus 5 is 9, minus 1, 8. So -42, w to the 8th. All right, 32. I have a coefficient of 8, 2, and then even though it's not here, 1. All right, so 8 times 2, 16. 16 times 1 is 16. All right, p to the -5th, p to the -1st, and even though there's no exponent here, p to the 1st. So I'm taking -5 plus a -1 plus 1. All right, so looking here, -1 plus 1, that cancels out, that equals 0. So then the exponent I'm left with is a negative. Well, if you remember, you can't have negative exponents. So I have to send it to the bottom. So this becomes p to the 5th. So if you have 16p to the -5, this is incorrect. All right, so let's look here. -2ab. So technically a and b both have exponents of 1. All right, and then I have 6a squared b cubed. All right, so again, multiply those coefficients. 6 times -2 would be -12, a to the 1st, and a squared. So 1 plus 2, that'd be a cubed, b to the 1st, and b cubed. 1 plus 3, so my final answer would be 12a cubed, b to the 4th. All right, so looking at 34, I have -12 and then a coefficient of 1/3. All right, so whenever you see a fraction with a 1 in the numerator, technically all you're doing is dividing by the denominator. So really I just need to focus on this 3. So -12 divided by 3 would be a -4. All right, p to the 8th, p cubed, 8 and 3 is 11, so p to the 11th. All right, -2 and a +2 cancels out, so then my final answer would be -4 p to the 11th. All right, last few. So if you look here, I have 7c cubed times 2cd minus c cubed d to the 8th. All right, so technically there's a -1 here. All right, so 7 times 2 is 14. 14 times a -1 is a -14. All right, then I have c cubed times c to the 1st times c cubed. Alright, so 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 3 is c to the 7th. And then let's look at my d's. D squared times d to the 1st times d to the 8th. So 2 plus 1 plus 8. So c to the 11th power. Alright, so 36. So again, you have a negative 1 here. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 7 would be a negative 28. Then I have a to the 1st. So a to the 1st times a to the 8th. So 1 plus 8 is 9. A to the 8th times another a to the 1st. So that would be a to the 10th power. And then again, I have a b to the 1st. So b to the 1st times b squared, b cubed, times b to the 6th would be b to the 9th. Alright, if you notice here, I have a plus sign here. So all I'm going to be multiplying is negative 8 times 2. Well, excuse me, negative 8k to the 4th times 2k. Alright, so negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. And then k to the 4th times k to the 1st would be k to the 5th. Alright, so now I have 3k squared times k cubed. Alright, so plus 3 times 1 is 3, and then k squared plus k cubed gives me k to the 5th. Alright, so for this one, because both my k's are raised to the 5th power, I can now combine. So negative 16 plus 3 is negative 13. Bring down my k's. So my final answer would be negative 13 k to the 5th. Alright, so the same thing with number 38. So I need to combine, or not combine, excuse me, I need to multiply 9m to the 6th times 2mn to the 4th. And then I also need to do the same thing, is multiply 4m and m squared n cubed times 3m to the 5th n. And then I can see if I can subtract. Alright, 9 times 2, 18. M to the 6th times m would be m to the 7th. And then I'm just left with n to the 4th minus 4 times 3 is 12. M squared times m to the 5th gives me m to the 7th. And then n cubed times n gives me n to the 4th. So if I notice, my m's and my n's have my same exponents, so I'm going to do 18 minus 12. So my final answer would be 6m to the 7th, not m. Let me erase that. Alright, let's try that again. So this is actually m to the 7th, n to the 4th. So go ahead and complete your classwork.